Alright, I'm going to show you a quick overview of Microsoft Word. I thought rather than writing out everything that you can do, given the information available online nowadays, it might be helpful just to walk you through some of the key features that we feel are good skills for legal support professionals to have as they get ready to walk into a law firm or legal department environment. And so I've put together a quick Microsoft Word document here that's a blank document that I've saved and just want to walk you through. This is version 2010 and it's not much different than version 23 or 2013 that I have in my office and use on a daily basis. And so yeah, you're probably already familiar with how this works. We won't spend a whole lot of time going through that, but on your file menu, and this may lag just a little bit because I'm recording my screen as I do this, so bear with me as we do this. If you click on the file portion of the tab and wait for that to appear, it will hopefully do that much faster for you, or this would make for a long day at work. So on the File tab, you can see all the information about your document. If you click on the Info tab, this is very helpful to give you some properties about the document. You can see it's a pretty small file. There's just no pages at this point. It's just a blank document. How many words, how long you've spent in that. You can do titling and tagging and commenting within the document if you want to get that creative. You can change the author, and all of this information, and we'll talk about this in another session, is called metadata. It's information about the document that you have. It has nothing to do with what's inside the document at this point, but just who created it, who has been working in it. You can do different things to protect the document, lock it down, prepare it to be shared with someone else, and look at the different versions that are there as well. You have over here a recent file list. We'll wait for that to pop up, where you'll start building a list of documents that you've been working in recently. Very handy to come back here quickly if you opened several documents throughout that day that you needed to get back into. The other thing you can do is stick a little push pin down by tapping on that. That will pin that document kind of above the line here and allow that to be quickly accessed later in the day, which is pretty handy. If you wanted to create a new document, click on that. If you click over on print, you'll get to the print options that are available to you. And while that loads, this is an important thing for us to understand as we work in the legal profession of you don't always want to print out a 30-page appellate brief when you just need to maybe print out the signature page. So knowing how to work through the print options and print one page versus all of them. As you can see, you can adjust how many copies that you need, print all the pages, print just some of the pages, specific range of pages if you want just odd or even. That's all available, and all of those options in here are available for you to choose. You can type in pages 1 through 2 or just page 35 if that's what you want. And there's different options down here that you're free to play with as you need to. In addition, since more and more information is sent electronically nowadays, you can create a document, save it, and send it out by email. You can send it in original Word format, so that copy can be edited or used by someone else, or you can even send it as a PDF directly from Microsoft Word, which is pretty handy as well. You can also change that when you save the document. You may want to save that as a PDF version and then share that through your mail program in some other way as well. And so we're going to get out of the file menu here and close that out. And as I mentioned, your version of Microsoft Word will probably work a lot faster than the screen recorded version I'm using here. So hopefully that doesn't throw us off too much. All right, so let's talk about copying and paste options. Let me just get a phrase here. So we're going to put in a test phrase, and incidentally, this little red indicator under the word TST shows me that I've misspelled that word. I'm sure you're familiar with spell check, but it's always a good thing to run and use on your documents just can really help you catch something or a typo that you might have put in you weren't quite aware of. Gives you a nice little visual cue that it's in there. If I hold my cursor over here to the left, you see how my arrow changes. I can select that entire piece of text just by clicking. And if I hover, I get a bunch of different formatting options here. So your bold, italics, you can change your font, increase the font size or decrease the font size, change the indent around, change the font color, do some format painting stuff, which will maybe a little more advanced than what we need to talk about today. But really what I'm interested in is just copying this and putting it on the clipboard for Microsoft Word, because I want to show you a couple of things with how Word does things. So if I click at the end here and press the return key twice just to get us a little bit of space, hit paste, you'll see that Word will take just that information and it'll pop it in and put the cursor below it. Now I only copied this phrase. Why did it put the cursor below it? The answer to that lies in how Microsoft Word formats its documents. If you come up here and click this Show Hide the Paragraph Marks, Microsoft Word will turn on its paragraph marking for you, and many people don't like this view, feel like it's too busy, but I will tell you as a legal professional, it really helps you identify what's going on with your document. And you can see when this comes back, I'll show you what the little characters mean, and we'll figure out why Word did what it did for us. So when I copied that initial phrase, it copied this end paragraph character right here. And so we press return twice. Like first return got us here, second return got us here. When I hit paste again, it went ahead and pasted that paragraph mark and put in another return, which is why our cursor showed up over here. So if you see that, you see how it copies the paragraph, selected that. If I move that back and get it off of there, and hit Control C and copy it, move down here, one more level down and hit paste, Control V, then it pastes it and keeps my cursor right there. So if Word has ever done something goofy with you, now you kind of know why that happens. So these are, let's get rid of all these. I'll hit Control A and backspace and get rid of that. You have a couple paste options. You can paste by keeping the source formatting, which means if you pasted this from the web or something else, it will keep whatever formatting was assigned to it. You can merge the formatting with the formatting that's within this document, and that can often be a good option to pick up the formatting that's the document. But generally what I recommend is anytime you're pasting from another document is you keep the text only, and that will just take out any problematic character or formatting font that's in there and just put in a clean piece of text that you can work with. If you look carefully in here, you'll see that there's a little dot that represents a space. If I hit the tab key, you'll see an arrow which represents a tab character. And if I press enter, you'll see that the paragraph mark shows that I've done a new paragraph. How Word handles formatting is it formats everything from the beginning of a line to the end of that paragraph mark. And so if I want to change the formatting here and make this bold, I can click on that, and that will be a bold paragraph. And if I press to select all of that and press bold, it will bold that paragraph. If we press enter, you'll see that bold is still on this next set, but if we come down here where we didn't have our bold characters turned on, we're now still on normal font. So that's important to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out why Word is formatting something the way it's formatting it. Alright, let's get rid of that. Same piece of information applied to italicizing or underlining. All of your basic font adjustments can be made under the dialog up here. So if you have some text up there, we'll throw the text back in there that we were working with. If we select that, we can make it bold or italicized or underlined. We can do a strike through, we can subscript or superscript, and we can highlight or change the font color if we'd like to make that red, for example. And so you see that that's changed, and it's put all of that formatting within that paragraph mark. So if I hit it again, we're going to have that same type on the next line. If I want to get rid of that, which is a pretty handy thing to know, if you get some problematic text into a document, you can use this little clear formatting button, and that will take all of the formatting out and return it to normal, which is very handy. Word works within menus now through these little pull-out windows. So if you're excuse me, in the font section here and want to click on this little drop down, that will show you the other options available. Alright, so this font submenu has popped up now, and you can see the different things that you can do within the font submenu, and this will give you your options to change things to small caps or all caps or those types of things. Generally won't work in here too much, but sometimes it's nice if you need to troubleshoot something, you can get in here and figure out what's going on. Let's move over to the paragraph section of the ribbon, and this is an area that's really important for lawyers to know, or lawyers and their assistants to know how to use, because it can get you in lots of trouble if you're not really familiar with how this different information shows up in here. So a big part of what lawyers do is format documents in a certain way to either meet court requirements or submission requirements. So you may have a court that says you need a 2-inch top margin. You need to know how to get that and make sure that that complies. If you do any type of appellate work, there's very specific requirements for how the briefs look, and so being able to format a document can be really helpful to you as you go through. So there's a lot of options here as far as kind of just your justification goes. So we're showing this as left justified at the moment. You can center it by clicking on the center. You can move it to the right, or you can stretch it across, which would be full justification. Lots of lawyers have their own preferences on how that looks, so it's good to know how to find that. You can change the line spacing by clicking this little drop down, and it will show you the different options that are available for line spacing. Generally, you're going to move between 1 or 2, not too many other types of line spacing that you will need. Your word counts are more important than cramming as much space as you can, or as much text as you can onto a particular page. You will have pretty strict margin requirements, and so you can see here we've got a 1-inch margin on your ruler, and you can see that you have a hanging indent option and a first line indent, and these characters represent your spaces on the page. So this is your ruler of how big your document is and how much text is going to appear on that. If you double tap or double click on this, it'll bring up the paragraph marker. You can also, or menu, you can also get to that by clicking that little down arrow there. As you're looking at this, you can change your indentation, it's left and right, so if you need to scoot in a block quote or something, you can change that here. You can have a first line or a hanging indent, which will format your text if you're wanting things to look a certain way. Same thing with your spacing before and after. This can come in handy with headings, we'll talk about in a minute. And then also your line spacing can be changed here. But it's important down here to know that this tabs window appears. Tabs are basically, will show where your text shows up, and this is where you get in to change them. So you can have a left tab or a center tab where things will start typing from the middle, a right tab, a decimal tab, or a bar tab. Each of those are pretty specific, not used too much in my practice. But down here, the leader tabs are pretty important. So you'll set a position and maybe a leader, so you can have a tab stop where you have some information, you hit the tab key, and you get a leader of dotted lines or dashed lines or an underline, and you can put your numbers in. And you can clear different ones as well. So if you set up a bunch of different tab stops, they'll show up in this area, and you can click on that and clear, move it around, do what you need to do. You can also click here and set a tab stop. So I'll show you how that works. Move that here. If I press the tab key, that's going to bump me all the way over to this side. And let's get rid of that formatting so you can see what that looks like a little bit more clearly. As you can see, we got rid of the tab stop as well by clearing the formatting. So the tab character is still there, but it just went to our default tab, which is 0.5, and it bumped it over. So let's put our left tab stop there at 3, and you can see that that went over. If I click on that, you see now that we've got a tab stop at 3. We may want to change that to a center tab, and that centers on the tab, so you can see how that moves the text to center on that particular tab stop. It can be handy for formatting. You can do the same thing where we have it start just to the right, or it ends at the right and goes back to the left. So you can play with those and kind of get some ideas, or you can hit it and clear it and it'll go away. Now we're back to the default tab stop as we go. So that's just a quick overview of how tabs work. Again, if you need a leading number or something like that, you could put a right tab, let's say at 5, and we'll double click on that to change it, put it as a right tab, and we'll put a tab leader in there with dots underneath it. You can see that that bumps it over, gives you that leading tab line, and then you would probably have this be more like a number or something like that, page number or a case number, and have some text information on this side with a tab to put the page number, and we'll just call that page 01 or something like that. So that's the various ways that you can use tabs, and should you be asked to work with that, you at least know that you can find that by going to the paragraph menu and the tab menu. Let's talk a little bit about tables as well. If you go to the insert portion of your document or your ribbon for Microsoft Word, you will see the ability to insert a table. If we click down on this, it will show us a little grid here, and you can draw your grid. You've got a 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, or 2 by 3 once it draws here for us. You can see that it's put in a formatted table for us where you can use this as a heading, hit tab to move to heading 2, hit tab, heading 3, and then you can put, let's say, a date in here, and let's say a description here, so we'll call it a book, and then just information about the book. And let's move over here and let's do one for 1/1/2014, the year before, and we'll call it book and information. The nice thing about tables is you can keep things formatted consistently. You can drag them around. Let's see how the cursor works. So if you get it like appearing like this, you can stretch it back and it will resize that for you. If you get it sideways, you can open that up a little bit. You can also do some nice things with sorting. So if we want to go up here to the table tools kind of submenu, you can do different things with the design. So if you tap on one of these pre-formats, it formats it for you. You can do different things with borders and shading. If you go into the layout section here, you get opportunities to add, move, insert, delete, do different things with the table. But what's important for lawyers is you can do sorting, just like an Excel spreadsheet or some other database program. It's pretty helpful. So if we want to say, let's sort heading, this heading column by date, and then by paragraphs. You can also use other options if you have different types of text in there, and sort it ascending. That should reorder our list for us and put it into chronological order, which is kind of nice. So this can be used to do medical timeline summaries and different things as well, with lots of different pieces of information, but then have it sorted in a chronological order, which is pretty handy. Back on the Insert tab, let's click outside of our table here, and my version will cooperate here. We'll be looking good. You can now use the header and footer area of the Insert tab to insert your page numbers. If you just click the down arrow here, it will give you different options of what page numbers, areas they can be located, top or bottom. They will show you a little bit of a preview of what the options are, and you can do different things with the formatting of those page numbers as well. Same type of options exist for your headers and your footers as well, and there's some pretty important things, and don't have time to go through all of those for the headers and footers. For appellate briefs and those kind of things, that would be the subject of a little bit more advanced topic, but just know that you can have different types of headings and footings for different sections of a document. So if you need page 1 to have a different type of page number on it than page 2, for example, you can do that, and there's good ways to set that up and to set up Word to do that for you. Alright, over on the References tab, this will be an area where you can insert footnotes, and so we'll just say Insert Footnote. Come up here and tap on the Insert Footnote section. You can see we've jumped to the bottom of page 1 with a little Roman numeral, and this is information about footnote 1. And so up here in our document, we have a little information about footnote 1 that shows up. Shows us a preview of what's in the footnote, and that will build as you move through the document. So if you put additional footnotes in, like so, it will put number 2 in below that, and you can put your sources and that kind of information into there. It's just good to know that that's available. Again, something more advanced to kind of walk through how all of that works and the different formats that are there, but that's important to know moving forward. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the table of contents. This is where you can add your table of contents to a document. I'll show you how to get the information into the table of contents here in a few minutes, and also your table of authorities. So Word has built-in ability to help you pre-mark legal citations, and then go through your document and lift all of those into a table of authorities in a formatted manner at the top of the document. Again, this becomes really important in the appellate context, but it can also be really helpful just as you're working through different documents if you have a lot of information that you need to summarize, and so that's a good thing as well. So just know that's under the References tab as well. Alright, so now we're back on our main Home tab, and I want to show you a couple things with numbering. So we're going to turn this into a numbered list just by clicking on the number button, and this puts in Word. If you look at the gray field settings here, you know that you're in a field, which Word uses these fields to automatically build these lists. So if I type here, I'm going to get number 3 and so on. So that's really handy, but sometimes you need to go back and add something, and you hit the button and you're wanting to add text after here and you're not sure why that's not working. Generally, if you press return again, it will take you out of the list and keep the list below. So this is a new section, and you move down here, but now your list is still attached from here to here, and you want this to start over at 1. It's really easy to change this, and this is a big frustration for folks who don't know or haven't used Microsoft Word, so hopefully this will help you out. But if you click in this new section down here and right click, you have the opportunity then to restart that list at number 1. Conversely, if you want to connect this, you can hit continuing numbering and it'll keep it going there. So if you just wanted some more information about item 2 here, but they keep the list going down here, or even to add more up here and have it adjust, that's a possibility. Another thing that confuses people often about lists is when you're wanting it to look different. So you may not like that this list shows up not at point 5, for example, but really just a couple of points in. So if you right click again, there's an option to adjust the list indents. If you click on this, It gives you the opportunity then to change what you want to change. So if you wanted your numbers to start at 0.5 and then the text of that to start at 1 inch, just click that here, set your text indent, and hit OK, and that will move it over. And you can see that it's adjusted the indents and the hanging indents appropriately. So now your list is formatted, hopefully the way that you want it. Very similar with bullets, and so if you have mastered kind of basic numbering, you can handle bulleting as well. There is a more robust multi-level list feature built into Microsoft Word that you may find yourself using, especially if you work in a transactional environment. A little bit more advanced than just an overview for how that works, but it's very powerful if it's set up the way you want to from the beginning. If you're trying to copy and paste from multiple documents, it can get to be kind of a headache, and that may require some additional under the hood work with Microsoft Word to get that figured out. But this should give you enough to really handle most of the things that you're going to encounter on the job with Microsoft lists of numbers and bullets. The most important thing I can recommend to you is to learn how to use styles within Microsoft Word. This is something that's probably the least utilized, and if you look at the article that I wrote on 3 changes to make to the next time you might open Microsoft Word, I recommend ways to do that. But basically how Word works is it works with these styles, and these are just pre-saved ways that the text is going to look. It's very simple. So you can see right here that we're using the normal style. So this is the normal style. And if you want to see what that looks like, you can go up here to the style section, right click, and tap modify. That'll show you what's going on in this particular style. Its name is normal. It's using the paragraph normal style. It's Times New Roman, 12-point font, automatic color, left justified, single line space, and it applies to this document. You can do all kinds of different things with this. You can hit the format, you can format the font, the paragraphs, the tabs, border, language, all your numbering. All of that can be attached to a style, and so that's pretty handy for a little bit more advanced stuff. So don't worry about that too much, though. You'll want to change that to match whatever your most used normal thing is within Microsoft Word. That's kind of the main thing, and that uses the normal style. Let's talk about the headings. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. If I click here or anywhere in this paragraph set after this one, but before this one, and tap on heading 1, you can see that that changes my format, and it also adds this little dot here if I have my paragraph markers showing up. Same thing for heading 2, and then let's grab heading 3 down here. You can see it moved over a little bit for us. Incidentally, if you want to see all the styles that are available, click down. If you want to create your own, just type some text, hit save as a new style. You can tighten that up however you want, and you can name it whatever you want and reuse it throughout your document. So what's neat about here is if I later decide that I want to have some text here and some text here and then some text here, but I realize that really this should be heading 3 and this should be heading 2. I can move these pretty easily. Just grab it and move it down. Let's bump that down. You can see I kind of goofed that up, so I'm just going to clear my formatting to get it back to where it was. I'll change this back to heading 2 and change this to heading 3. Now note this doesn't change because this is just text that I typed in, but my style changed. Now if I really wanted this to look a little bit different, I'd want to go in and right click and modify this, so I could maybe put a numbering element to it. Maybe I wanted it to be Roman numeral, and then maybe I wanted heading 2 to be capital letters and have that bump underneath. And maybe heading 3 I wanted to have look a little bit different with numbers with a parenthetical after it. So you can change that around, have that look different things. Now why this is important is this builds consistency throughout your document. So if you have an argument heading 1, for example, and you use this heading 1 style, all your major headings are going to match. All your subheadings and then subheadings after that are going to match as well. And where this really becomes important is, let's say at the end of the day you're wanting to insert a table of contents. Instead of now having to go back through and find out that this is on page 12 and this is on page 15, in fact, let's just go ahead and bump this down. We're going to insert a page break here and move that down to the next page so we can demonstrate this a little bit. I'm going to go over to my References tab and insert the automatic table of contents. You can see that all my headings show up, number 1, number 2, number 3. And if we go to here, and let's move our actual heading 3 down by dropping in another page break here. Put that on page number 3. You can come back to this table and update the entire table, and now it's showing us that these are on pages 1, 2, and 3. Very handy, quick way to build a document and to keep it consistent. So if I wanted to change this to a major heading at some point, I could come down here and click on it, make sure I'm on the Home tab, and say, you know, I really wanted this to be a new argument and it needs to be that subheading. I change it there. At the end of the day, I can update my table, and now it's moved it back to heading style 1. Works pretty slick as you go through the document. And so if you do this from the get-go, it can really help you out and save you a lot of time. Same principle as tables of authority. We won't go into that. And as I mentioned in the written materials, there are a lot of different options for kind of speeding up your input of text in Microsoft Word. There's auto text or quick parts, depending on what version that you have, that allow you to save commonly used phrases or sections of documents and then type a few keystrokes and pop those in. You may have been typing in Word before and your name automatically pops up. I'm not sure if it will here. Yeah, see how this comes up. This is an auto text entry. I only put in part of that and it brings out the full phrase, or 2 words in this case. You can get to that by going to Insert, Quick Parts, and for example my firm name is a quick part now. I click on that. That came out very quickly. I didn't have to type it. Quick parts, there's also auto text where my name is in there and my initials, just because that's how Word does different things. But you can save long sections, multiple pages, different things into these galleries, they call them, and then you'll build a list here and you can just click on it or type a few keystrokes and have that enter for you. Pretty neat how that works. If you go into the building blocks organizer, you can see that, goodness, there's a lot of different things that are in here that allow you to format your document quickly and consistently and use repeated text in a quick manner as well. So that's it. That's a quick overview of Microsoft Word. Some of the main skills that you'll need to know. Like I said, kind of the big things that I would work on are making sure that documents are able to be formatted quickly. If you have trouble, just hit Control A to select everything in the document, hit clear formatting to bring it back to normal. And that gives you the opportunity to really see what's going on. Again, I recommend the use of this show hide paragraph so you can really see, okay, now I've got a tab here, I've got a space here, what's really going on with my document. Learn how to use some of the style things. That'll help you out. Mess with the lists until you get comfortable with those, and make sure you use Google to Google the question you may have, and that'll help you as well. Thanks.